Great man, you know that, right? But they treat you better than they treat me. I hope so. You have a good one there on that side. Have a good time. You're having a good time. You have to say, amazing.
I hope you enjoyed it.
It's an amazing culture. Thank you. Thank you.
Speaks after touring the space exhibit. Speaks after touring the space exhibit.
We're confused too. In the brown? In the brown?
Can we do a crop like this from that flag picture?
في ترجمة.
نعم.
اوكي. أرحب بكم فخامة الرئيس في دولة الإمارات وسعيد باللقاء معكم مجددا بعد لقائنا في فلوريدا العام الماضي. منذ أن توليتم مهام منصبكم فخامة الرئيس على مدى أكثر من 50 عام
For over 50 years,
ترتبط دولة الإمارات والولايات المتحدة بعلاقات تحالف
the UAE and the
استراتيجي
United States have shared a
متعدد
multidimensional
الأبعاد
strategic
وصداقة
partnership
تاريخية ممتدة
and a
تقوم
long-standing
على
friendship
توجه مشترك لتعزيز
grounded in a
الازدهار
shared commitment to advancing
والاستقرار
prosperity
لبلدينا
and
والمنطقة
stability
والعالم.
in our countries, the region, and the world.
وخلال هذه العقود كانت دولة الإمارات شريكاً
Over the
موثوقاً
decades,
للولايات المتحدة
the UAE has been a trusted partner of the
سواء
United
على
States,
مستوى العلاقات الثنائية
both in terms of
أو
bilateral
على مستوى
relations
القضايا
and in
المشتركة.
matters of shared concern.
ونحن حريصين على
We
مواصلة
are keen
تعزيز
to
هذه
continue
الصداقة
deepening
وتقويتها
this friendship
لمصلحة البلدين
for the benefit of
والشعبين.
both our nations and peoples.
ووجودكم هنا اليوم فخامة الرئيس
Your
يؤكد
presence here
أن
today,
هذا
Mr.
الحرص
President,
متبادل.
affirms that this commitment is mutual.
العلاقات الدبلوماسية بين دولتنا أقيمت
Diplomatic relations between our two
سنة
nations
1971
was established in 1971,
لكن التواصل بين الشعبين
but
يعود
the
إلى ما
connection
قبل ذلك.
between our peoples goes back further.
هناك طبيبان
Two
أتوا
doctors
كمبشرين
who came as
من
missionaries
الكنيسة
from the church
في كاليفورنيا
in California.
أسماءهم محفورة في
Have
ذاكرة
their
دولة
names
الإمارات.
etched in the collective memory of the
هما
UAE.
الدكتور بات وماريان
They are
كينيدي
Pat and Marianne Kennedy.
الذين جاءوا إلى مدينة العين
They arrived in Elaine
في آخر الخمسينات
in late 50s,
وعملا في
working
ظروف صعبة جدا
under challenging conditions
حيث كان يتوفى
at a time when
طفلين
up to
واحد.
1 in 2 infants
وكانت هناك وفاة من كل 4 أمهات
and in 4
خلال
and
الولادة
1 in 4 mothers died during childbirth.
وأسس الطبيبان الأمريكيان مستشفى الواحة
They
آنذاك سمي
founded
الواحة
Oasis
الذي
Hospital,
لعب دورا رئيسيا في تاريخ الرعاية
which
الصحية
played a pivotal
في دولة
role
الإمارات.
in the development of healthcare in the
وبعد
UAE.
وصولهما ببضعة أشهر
A few months after
فخامة
their
الرئيس،
arrival, Mr.
أنا
President,
ولدت في
I
هذا
was born
المستشفى
in the same hospital that these 2 American doctors
الذي
founded.
أسسه هذا الطبيبان الأمريكيان وتقديرا لجهودهما
In
في
recognition
مجتمع
of
الإمارات
their
تم
contributions,
منحهما جائزة أبو ظبي في دورتها الأولى
they were awarded
عام
the Abu Dhabi
2005.
Award in
كما
its
جرى
first
تغيير
edition in
اسم المستشفى
2005.
في عام
And
2019
in 2019,
إلى
the
مستشفى
hospital
كند
was renamed
تكريما لهما.
Kenneth Hospital in their
وعلى
honor.
ذلك استقبلت بهذه المناسبة عائلتهما في أبو ظبي
And their family was hosted in
بما
Abu Dhabi in gratitude
قدماه
for their service
من خدمات
to
لشعب
the,
دولة
to the
الإمارات.
people of the UAE.
فخامة الرئيس هناك شراكة قوية بين دولة الإمارات
Mr. President,
والولايات المتحدة
the UAE
من
and the
أجل
United
التنمية.
States share a strong development-focused
وأخذت هذه
partnership.
الشراكة دفعة نوعية
This
وغير
partnership
مسبوقة
has taken a significant leap forward
خاصة من مجيئكم في البيت الأبيض
since you assumed office,
خاصة في مجالات الاقتصاد
particularly in
الجديد
the areas
والطاقة
of the new economy,
والتكنولوجيا
energy,
المتقدمة
advanced technology,
والذكاء الاصطناعي
artificial intelligence,
والصناعة.
and industry.
ومما يؤكد على ذلك مخطط دولة الإمارات للاستثمار في الولايات
A
المتحدة
testament to this is the
هذه
UAE's plan
المجالات
to invest
من خلال المؤسسات
in the
الاستثمارية
US
الإماراتية
in these sectors
وبقيمة
through the UAE's
1.4
investment bodies at a total
تريليون
value of
دولار
$1.4
في
trillion
خلال العشر
over
سنوات
the next 10
القادمة.
years.
كما أن هناك شراكات ومشروعات مهمة
Additionally,
في هذا المجال بين
major
القطاع
partnerships
الخاص
and
في
projects
البلدين.
are underway between
إضافة
private
لما
sector
سبق
entities
هناك تعاون استراتيجي
in both
في مجال
nations.
الفضاء مثل ما شفت فخامة الرئيس. والولايات المتحدة
Beyond
شريك
these
استراتيجي
areas,
لدولة الإمارات
our countries
في مشروع
maintain
استكشاف
a
المريخ
strategic partnership in the field of space
وبرنامج
exploration
رواد الفضاء ومشروع استكشاف
and the
حزام
astronaut
الكويكبات.
program and the
وفي هذا
asteroid
السياق
belt mission.
أريد أن أذكر شيء
In
ربما
this
لا يعرف
context,
الكثير
I would like to share something
وهو
that may
أن
not
مركبة
be
الفضاء
widely known.
الأمريكية أبولو 17
The American spacecraft Apollo
التي
17
انطلقت سنة 1972 أخذت علم
that
دولة
flew in
الإمارات في
1973
رحلتها إلى القمر.
has carried the UAE flag on
وهذا
its
العلم
journey
نفسه
to the moon.
أرسلته وكالة
That
الفضاء
same flag
ناسا
was
إلى
later sent
المؤسس
by NASA
الوالد
to
الشيخ
our
زايد رحمة
nation's
الله عليه
founding father, the
في
late
عام
Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan
1973
in
مع
1973,
قطعة
along
من
with
صخور القمر.
a fragment of lunar rock.
والتقى الشيخ زايد رحمة الله عليه مع رواد رحلة أبولو
Sheikh
عدة مرات
Zayed met with
حيث
Apollo
كان لديه
astronauts
طموح كبير
on
بالوصول
several occasions,
إلى الفضاء.
and he had a deep and enduring mission for the
مارس
UAE
الماضي
to reach space.
قلتم فخامة الرئيس أن
Mr.
دولة
President,
الإمارات والولايات
in March
المتحدة
of this year, you
كانتا
stated
على
that the
الدوام
UAE
شريكين
and the United States
استراتيجيين
have long been
في
partners
دعم
in
جهود
efforts
السلام والأمن
to bring
في
peace
الشرق
and
الأوسط
security to the Middle
والعالم.
East and the world.
واليوم
Today,
أجدد التأكيد
I
لكم
reaffirm to you
إن دولة الإمارات
that the UAE
حريصة على
remains
مواصلة العمل
committed
مع
to
الولايات
working
المتحدة
with the United States
في كل ما يحقق السلام والاستقرار
to
في
advance peace
منطقتنا
and stability
والعالم.
in our region and globally.
أكرر الترحيب بكم فخامة الرئيس
Once again, Mr.
وأنا
President, I
واثق
warmly welcome you, and I'm
بأن هذه
confident
الزيارة
that
سيكون
this visit will have a
لها
profound,
تأثير كبير جدا في
and
مستقبل علاقة
positive
البلدين.
impact on the future
حياك الله يسلمك.
of our bilateral relations. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Your Highness. What a lot of people don't know, I think my staff is very surprised by it. You and I have been friends for a long time. We've been good friends. And what they don't know about you is that you are considered a truly great warrior. And you've been through the wars. You're a great warrior, a very strong man, a brilliant man, a man of vision, like few others, and highly respected. When they know you, there's tremendous respect, and you're so respected in the Middle East that it's really amazing. You know, we've done the tour with two of your very good friends, you know that, and we were talking about you, and I won't tell you everything they said, but I can say it was all good. It was all good. Total admiration and respect for what you've done and who you are. And they said, when he gives you a handshake, when he makes a deal, that's the deal. And your wonderful brother came to Washington a few weeks ago, and he told us about your generous statement as to the 1.4 trillion. And all I could say is thank you very much. We will work very hard to deserve it. I have absolutely no doubt that the relationship will only get bigger and better. Your relationship and mine can't get better, so I can't say it's going to get better because it's at the highest level it can be. But our countries will work together. We've become a very hot country. We were not such a hot country 6 months ago. And now I think we're the hottest country, if you want to know the truth. We had one little indication a year ago. We were having a hard time getting people to join the military, enlistment they call it in our country. We were getting very bad vibes, very unhappy. It was an unhappy country. A lot of foolish things were happening, stupid things were happening. And we just got the numbers. We had the highest enlistment numbers just about that we've ever had. We think it probably the highest, but they say have to be extremely accurate when it comes to the news, because they check every word I say. If there's a little bit of an inaccuracy, but I will tell you, we had just about the best numbers for enlistment we've ever had. Every one of our services. I'm very proud of Space Force because I created Space Force. That was my baby. Hadn't been done in 78 years, a new force, and it's doing phenomenally well. We were not winning the space war, and now we're leading it by tremendous margins over Russia and China primarily. And so we're very proud of it, but I'm very proud of, maybe even more so, the enlistment numbers. So we went from having a hard time getting people to join our armed forces and our police, by the way, to having the best numbers that we've ever had, wanting to join. They're proud of our country again. That's a big thing, and to happen so fast, over about a 6 or 7 month period, that's a big honor. And likewise, the police, very hard to get police, and now the ranks are bursting and with pride. So that's something that we're very happy about. We've had investments in our country over the last 3 months, but really 2 months, because it took me a couple of weeks to get started. I had to get a little acclimated again, because we had a very successful first term, as you know. We had one of the most successful economies in the history of our country. First term was amazing. We did a lot of things. We rebuilt our military. We did a lot of great things. And I think this is even going to be better. But we have now, I think, substantially over $10 trillion of investment. And now when I add the $1.4 trillion, we easily break that number. So that's investment or investment that we think will soon happen. And it doesn't include people that are building, because not everybody comes and tells us that they're building, and it's a big country, but we're having numbers that we've never done before, and that means AI plants. That means, as an example, a really good example is Apple. Apple is now spending much more than $500 billion on plants. They didn't do that before. As you know, they built their plants in another location. We have the biggest computer company, $500 billion. We have Mr. Wei of Taiwan is spending $200 billion. Jensen who's great. Jensen Huang is spending $500 billion. We have numbers that nobody's ever seen before. That all means jobs, because to me the most important jobs, I want jobs. And we have costs are way down. Groceries, they have a term, grocery. It's an old term, but it means basically what you're buying in food. It's a pretty accurate term, but it's an old-fashioned sound. But groceries are down, costs are down, eggs are down. They were, first week they were hitting me with eggs were up 200%, and now they're down to a number that is amazing. We're down 97, 98% from where they were. And everybody, they said, you won't have eggs for Easter. Well, we had everybody had eggs for Easter at a very reasonable price. At the White House, we had our little Easter egg roll, and we had hundreds of thousands of eggs purchased. They said, you have to go out and buy plastic eggs. That didn't work out. So we've done a real job, and our energy costs are way down. The energy is way down, gasoline is down, and we have almost no inflation. So we've got the economy back. We've got a border now that's very powerful, 99.9%, and nobody would have believed that was possible. It was an incompetent previous administration. I know you weren't thrilled with them. They abandoned people, and it wasn't that they abandoned. They didn't bother to call people back. They treated people with great disrespect, but part of it was a level of stupidity that we've never seen before. And I'm glad we arrived, and I know you people also woo you. You know, you're an amazing country. You're a rich country. You can have your choice, but I know you'll never leave my side. I know that, and you know the special relationship that we have and our country has. So, our country's back with you, and our country's back in a lot of ways. We have a country with tremendous spirit right now. Tremendous. I haven't seen anything like it. I would say this. We're far ahead of schedule. If you would have told me these numbers in a year and a half from now, I would have been very happy with them. But think that substantially more than $10 trillion, you'll have numbers of other presidents where they won't do $1 trillion in many, in a long time. $1 trillion. We did it in 2 months because, again, you figure 3, but let me have 1 month of fixing up the Oval Office, in other words, getting things ready. And I look forward to having you in the White House. We'll celebrate together. But we are going to be your friend, and we're going to be your partner, and we really appreciate your confidence and an investment. That's your biggest investment that you've ever made, and we really appreciate it, and we're going to treat you very, as you should be, magnificently. And you're a magnificent man, and it's an honor to be with you.
My honor, Mr. President.
Thank you very
God bless
much.
you.
Thank you.
شكرا شباب. دخل وسام.
نستأذن سموكم بالبدء. Your Highness, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, in recognition of President Donald Trump's exceptional efforts to strengthen the long-standing ties of friendship and strategic partnership between the United Arab Emirates and United States of America, I am honored to announce that His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan bestows the Order of Zayed upon President Trump.
Will you give me the honor?
Excuse me, everyone, please.
बिरयानी तैयार है तुम कहाँ हो
अभी पहुंचे 3 बाय 1 मिशन लेट्स गो मेरे लिए कंफर्ट इसको चाहिए बचत इसके लिए स्पीड इन ड्राइव राइड्स ऐसे जैसे आप चाहें
You are unmuted.
Excuse me, please.
Oh, the water? I'm good. Thank you. I want to know about the bathroom break.
Quarters of session, please be seated.
All right, Mr. Alessi, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Dr. Scorti-Bello, and welcome back.
Thank you.
I want to move on to a slightly different aspect of the hypothermia discussion. So, you've acknowledged previously that hypothermia is a very difficult diagnosis to make, correct?
Correct.
And you acknowledge that in your grand jury testimony in this proceeding, correct? Do you recall that?
I do.
And you indicated in that grand jury proceeding generally that diagnosing hypothermia is based on contextual clues. Is that correct?
On autopsy findings and investigative information, yes.
Right. And the last part, investigative, and that's that legal part, sort of the law enforcement contribution. Is that correct that you're referring to?
Correct.
You diagnosed Mr. O'Keefe with hypothermia based upon certain medical data that you believe you observed in the gastric area and the pancreatic area. Is that correct?
Correct.
And just for, I think most people will get this, to just be clear, gastric is sort of synonymous with the stomach.
Stomach.
And then we know the pancreas is a separate organ. And in your autopsy, you observed for example, the lining of both the stomach and the pancreas. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was the word you used?
let's start with the stomach. Did you observe the lining of the stomach as part of Mr. O'Keefe as part of the autopsy?
Yes, I observed some hemorrhages in the lining of the stomach.
We'll get to that, right? But I just want to talk about the organs and what aspects of the organs first, and then we'll get to that. And with regard to the pancreas, what aspect of the pancreas did you observe?
I examined both the external surface and the tissues around it, as well as the pancreas itself by making several cuts.
And there was also a histopathology report that was relevant to both the stomach and the pancreas, correct?
Correct.
Histopathology?
Spell it, Mr. Lassie.
Histopathology. So that histopath information informed your hypothermia analysis, is that correct?
The histopathology was done to further confirm my finding or my determination of hypothermia.
So, do I have it correct, and let's start with the pancreas, that you noted the pancreas was congested and diffusely hemorrhagic? Do I have that correct? And you feel free to look at your report, please.
I will.
And I specifically, if it helps, I'm
Yes.
looking at
Page 4.
the report of autopsy. It's not numbered pages, but it would be 4. And you see liver, gallbladder, and pancreas is 1, and then you go down a couple more and you see digestive system. That's what I'm focusing on.
Okay.
And then, and the next page is the histopathology.
Yes.
All right, are we sort of oriented in the same location?
Yes.
All right, so let's start with the pancreas. So if you look at the histopathology page, it says endocrine and exocrine pancreatic tissue with vascular congestion and patchy parenchymal, that's parenchymal, hemorrhage, autolytic changes. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And I want to go at these one at a time, so now I'm going to jump back to the previous page where you discussed the heading liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you see the last sentence says the pancreas is congested and diffusely hemorrhagic. You see that?
Yes.
So now what I'd like to do, and is that what you're rooting in, if you will, the analysis of hypothermia?
The determination of hypothermia was made, yes, based on these findings and the circumstances I was provided. Yes.
Right, and thank you. I'm going to get to the circumstances, but it's sort of the medical legal construct that we were talking about. I want to just start first with the medical, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
So then let's now move to the organ of the stomach, a synonym gastric in terms of your report. So let's go to, please, back to the histopathology section. And under that, under pancreas is stomach. And there's a bulleted one sentence that says gastric tissue with vascular congestion and focal mucosal hemorrhage. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And then let's go back, as we did with the pancreas, for the stomach, go back to the previous page in your report under the heading digestive system. And the second sentence states the gastric mucosa shows focal areas of linear hemorrhages. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
So we've got hemorrhage discussion with the pancreas. We've got hemorrhage discussion with the stomach and the gastric area. Your diagnosis of hypothermia was not based just on gastric and pancreatic hemorrhaging alone, though, was it?
No.
And you did fairly refer to other circumstances just moments ago in your answer, correct?
Correct.
And we're going to get to that. So that means that your diagnosis of hypothermia was also informed by the information we discussed earlier that was provided to you by former Trooper Proctor in his investigation. Is that correct?
Correct.
And one aspect of that information is that he was found, Mr. O'Keefe was found in the snow, correct?
Yes.
So let's go to the death notification report. Am I generally correct that you were, I'm sorry,
Rephrase it.
I will. Thank you, Your Honor. Do you recall the death notification report in this matter?
I do recall, the very initial first information that comes in. That's the death notification given to our intake staff.
Do you recall the contents of that death notification report?
Would you like me to summarize? I don't recall I don't have it in front of me, but I can tell you what the gist of it was.
Would it be helpful to you if I showed you a document that might refresh your recollection on what that, a document that may refresh your recollection?
She said sure. I don't think you heard her.
I did. Thank you, Your Honor. May I approve? May I approach, Your Honor?
Yep.
Thank
Just
you.
show Mr. Brennan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Scordi-Bello, what I'd like to do, you can read anything you want, but I'm just going to reference to the section that says circumstances of death.
Yes.
What I'd like you to do is read it to yourself, not out loud, and then when you, just that section up to here, and once you're done, if you could kindly look up and let me know.
Okay.
Dr. Scordi-Bello, did that refresh your recollection with regard to the circumstances of death section of the death notification report?
Yes.
And you could please state now what your refreshed recollection is on that topic.
Yes. The initial intake death notification was made by a physician at the hospital, and it stated that we were dealing with a adult male that was found in a snowbank. There was note of having been at a party. There was some information as to the decedent was walking to a house. There was reference to some sort of altercation or dispute with
Sustain. Jurors, disregard that. Move on with this, Mr. Leslie. With this, but just move on.
Yeah, yes. In terms of the differential diagnosis concept that we were talking about before, based upon your refreshed recollection of circumstances of death as discussed in the death notification report, based upon that, did you consider whether Mr. O'Keefe could have been injured and died somewhere other than the front lawn of 34 Fairview?
I'm going to allow that.
Initially, no.
let's go to significance, if any, of hemorrhaging of the two organs we were talking about, the pancreas and the stomach. Is it correct that the hemorrhaging of a pancreas can be caused by many different things?
Yes, it is.
And to be clear, you found evidence of hemorrhaging of the pancreas of Mr. O'Keefe in the autopsy, correct?
Correct.
And is it correct before the grand jury, you yourself were evaluating whether the injuries had been sustained in a different environment? Well, let me ask it this way. Do you recall what your testimony was in the grand jury about hemorrhaging of the pancreas and possibilities of injuries being sustained in different environments? Do you recall any testimony on that subject?
All right, I'll see you at 10.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. At the grand jury, did you testify as follows? If the injuries had been sustained in a different environment where the temperature wasn't that low, then there might have been an alternative explanation for those gastric and pancreatic hemorrhages. You recall that?
Yes.
Hemorrhaging of the pancreas can also be caused by blunt force trauma, correct?
Correct.
Hemorrhaging of the pancreas can be caused by CPR, correct? Cardiopulmonary resuscitation?
It's possible.
Do you know what a Lucas machine is?
Yes.
And a Lucas machine is an automated CPR machine, correct?
Correct.
And it's a rather large device, correct? It gets strapped down to the chest of someone. So instead of someone having to exercise, etc., you put on a Lucas machine that goes over the chest and it automatically does the compressions, right?
Correct.
Lucas machines can cause hemorrhaging, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, wasn't a Lucas machine applied to Mr. O'Keefe?
I believe so.
And wasn't the Lucas machine applied from when the first responders came to the scene and he was in the ambulance continually and through when he was in the hospital?
I believe so, yeah.
So, when a Lucas machine is used in resuscitation efforts, you'd actually expect to see some hemorrhaging, wouldn't you?
Where?
In the stomach? In the pancreas? Would you expect to see it there?
Not in the mucosa of the stomach and not as extensive in the pancreas.
Let's talk about and pick the pancreas first. So you would agree that from the use of a Lucas machine, you would expect some degree of hemorrhaging in the pancreas, correct?
Not always.
But it's certainly possible that a Lucas machine causes hemorrhaging of the pancreas, correct?
It's possible.
And now let's move to, and there was evidence of hemorrhaging in the pancreas of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
Now let's move to the stomach. Isn't it possible that a Lucas machine could cause hemorrhaging in the stomach?
Personally, I have not seen it in that context.
But do you rule that out?
I can't rule it out. I can only tell you my experience.
So your personal experience is you don't believe you've seen that, but you can't rule out that a Lucas machine causes hemorrhaging to the stomach. Is that correct?
I don't believe a Lucas machine causes hemorrhage to the mucosa of the stomach.
Right. I'm not yet at the mucosa of the stomach, which is a subset of the stomach, right? You're talking about the gastric rugae.
Talking about the inner lining of the
inner
stomach.
lining, and another name for the inner lining of the stomach is the gastric rugae, R-U-G-A-E, correct?
Yes.
So I'm just talking about the stomach in general, not a subset of the stomach. Is it possible that a Lucas machine could cause hemorrhaging in the stomach?
Not in the stomach, around the stomach, in the soft tissues of the torso.
Okay. So you've said that you're aware that Mr. O'Keefe was hooked up to a Lucas machine, correct?
Yes.
And are you aware of the length of time that Mr. O'Keefe was hooked up to a Lucas machine?
No, I am not.
Do you know how many compressions per minute a Lucas machine causes?
I would have to say close to 60.
Would 100 compressions per minute be a reasonable amount of compressions for a Lucas machine to cause?
Sure.
So assume 37 minutes of a person hooked up to a Lucas machine, and assume 100 compressions per minute. That would result in 3,700 compressions from a Lucas machine, correct?
Correct.
Could 3,700 compressions from a Lucas machine explain hemorrhaging in the pancreas?
You could.
And that explanation could be why there's hemorrhaging in the pancreas as opposed to hypothermia causing hemorrhaging in the pancreas, correct?
Possible.
Did you consider that at all in your autopsy report, the effect of the Lucas machine? Is it written anywhere in your autopsy report?
I do consider changes due to cardiopulmonary resuscitation. The rib fractures that were observed were attributed to CPR. Usually we will see some amount of hemorrhage in the soft tissues, but in this context, with the gastric findings, the pancreatic findings, and the information that he was found in the snow with a body temperature of 80 degrees, my opinion was that those hemorrhages, along with the gastric hemorrhages and his body temperature, were consistent with hypothermia.
My question was, does your report state anywhere the words Lucas machine?
No.
And you agree that a Lucas machine could cause hemorrhaging to the pancreas?
It can cause hemorrhage in a lot of tissues,
But including the pancreas?
including the pancreas.
If you see hemorrhaging of the pancreas and you believe that hemorrhaging is a contributor to hypothermic deaths, wouldn't you also expect to see Wisniewski ulcers?
I did note gastric hemorrhages.
So the court reporter needs to have a spelling of that. Doctor, can you give us the spelling of that?
Would you like to give it?
If you'd like me to, I'm prepared
Go
to give
ahead.
it. Thank you. Wishnewski. So, can you just tell the jurors what Wisniewski spots or Wisniewski ulcers are?
Wisniewski spots are small hemorrhages, small areas of bleeding in the mucosa of the stomach that are thought to be associated with hypothermia, amongst other things. They're believed to be either a reaction to stress due to the hypothermia or some form of what we call reperfusion injury.
Is it correct that if someone is believed to die, at least in part, from hypothermia, that in 90% of the cases of death from hypothermia, you would find Wisniewski's ulcers?
I do not know the exact number.
Is it that you're not recalling what the percentage is for the percent of cases for death of hypothermia that you would expect to find Wisniewski's ulcers?
I don't.
Do you recall?
Hold on. move on. The objection sustained, so
Okay.
you're asking it, yes, go
Okay.
ahead.
Thank you. There were no Wisniewski's ulcers present in Mr. O'Keefe. Is that correct?
I believe there were.
Can you point anywhere in your autopsy report where the word Wisniewski appears?
I did not call them Wisniewski spots. I called them gastric hemorrhages.
Right, so you didn't use the term Wisniewski and you didn't use the term ulcer, correct? In your report at all?
No, I used gastric hemorrhages under the title of hypothermia.
Do you believe that all hemorrhages in the pancreas are Wisniewski ulcers?
You mean the stomach?
I want to start with the pancreas.
Wisniewski ulcers are, the term is used to describe the gastric hemorrhages.
Right, so I wanted to clarify that. So now I want to move to the stomach.
Okay.
Do you believe all hemorrhages in the stomach are Wisniewski ulcers?
Not all of them.
Therefore, there can be Wisniewski ulcers and not be hemorrhaging, correct? Just by logic?
And not be hemorrhaging?
Correct. You can have a Wisniewski ulcer but not have hemorrhaging.
You could, but ulceration would manifest in what we call hemorrhage, the actual appearance of it.
What I'd like to do now is, Mr. Wolf, what has been in evidence, what I'd like to do is to, with Your Honor's permission, publish some depictions of first the gastric mucosa, and then start with that, Your Honor, publish that.
All right, so this is the one that we have not introduced into evidence openly, but at sidebar, right?
What I'd like to do is I'll start out with the one that is in evidence, which is the gastric mucosa.
Okay,
start with that.
What number?
Your Honor, just to...
Okay, so that was the one I was referring to that we did at sidebar, not in open court. Okay.
Yes.
It's NN for identification.
And I'd like to move NN into evidence at this time.
All right. All I'll say about this, jurors, is that this may be considered graphic. You satisfied with that, Mr. Alessi?
I'm satisfied with that, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Brennan, you satisfied with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
164.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Dr. Scribello, I'm handing you Exhibit 164 in evidence, and I'm going to also, with the court's permission, have it published on the screen. So whatever one is best for you to look at the screen, please feel free to look at either one. Mr. Wolk, if you could publish 164. Dr. Scordi-Bello, do you recognize 164 as the, well, you describe what 164 is.
This is a picture of the stomach of Mr. O'Keefe after it was removed and opened and the contents were removed. And what you're looking at, this pink-red surface, is the mucosa That's the lining of the stomach. And you had used the word rouge before. These are the folds. The stomach has a lot of folds. And what you can see here are small areas that are redder than everything else. That's hemorrhage, that's blood. And these are the gastric hemorrhages that I described.
Right, so those are what you just showed. There's darker areas, there's just a few of them. That is what you refer to as hemorrhages, correct?
Wisniewski's was, correct.
Well, you didn't use Wisniewski's in your report, correct? You referred to them as hemorrhages.
Correct.
Okay. So what I'd like to do now is to, if I may approach, Your Honor,
Yes.
for the chalk.
Exhibit MM.
Your Honor, with your Honor's permission, may I show Dr. Scorti-Bello the chalk that